This morning, new video shows the moment rescuers found 4 young siblings deep in the Amazon jungle. The eldest 13, the youngest just a year old, the kids looking emaciated but alive. For the last 40 days, rescuers had been scouring the forest, covering more than 1,600 miles. It was called Operation Hope. And finally, over the weekend, Colombian special forces in the middle of the night lifted them to safety, evacuating them to the capital of Bogota. The children, members of an indigenous tribe, had been living off the forest since their Cessna plane went down on May 1st. Along with their mother, they'd been flying from a remote Amazon community to a small city in central Colombia when the pilot reported engine failure at 7:30 a.m. May 1st.
Tragedy also with a little bit of miracle there. So 4 children were found alive after their plane went down there in Colombia, and all the adults on board actually passed away. So these rescuers then found them. They dropped supplies. They were looking for them for 40 days. 40 days. And the oldest of those children, 13 years old, was part of taking care of everyone else, including themselves, as they went through this whole ordeal. Now, there's more about how these rescuers found them and some of the clues that they left in the jungle that actually maybe helped them survive. Here's more.
The search began for what became known as Operación Esperanza, Operation Hope. For weeks, they searched for signs of exactly that. Together, Colombian military and indigenous community leaders took to the skies and the ground, scouring the rainforest, thick with underbrush, full of bugs and predators. Lost in the process, Wilson, a search dog, part of the rescue crew, still missing to this day, but found small signs of life, a diaper, a bottle, and footprints. Galvanized, the teams continued by night and by day. From a helicopter loudspeaker, the military played a recording of their grandmother reassuring the children, "Stay put, they're looking for you."
So many things coming together to make this happen, including, which I thought was a fabulous idea, a recording of their grandmother also being played over the top of what they hoped would be where these children were still surviving, to encourage them that they are looking for them. A little bit more, because the mother then in this situation, she actually survived for a little bit of the time and had a couple of words of advice before she succumbed to her injuries. Leslie, the eldest child there, pointed out that she told her family from the hospital that her mother, Magdalena Mikuti, had fought to survive for 4 days after the plane crash, but eventually told her children to leave her behind, asking that oldest child to take care of her younger siblings. And the children's father, Manuel Ranok, told this radio that the children survived thanks to the knowledge passed on them by their parents, who always had the children alongside them while working on their farm and teaching them to eat wild animals. Survival skills that you would never have thought could maybe hold on or be needed to be used in such a situation here. Here's an image of those rescuers with those children who were, of course, as they point out, were emaciated, hadn't eaten much, but then survived a little bit. Some of it was from the first aid that they dropped, but also, oddly, a package of flour from the wreckage. It's the little things, Burbank, that sometimes people can survive off of. And I've watched some of these survival shows, Race to Alaska and all this, and I'm like, yo, there's cameras right next to you, bro. You're not really actually surviving. If things really went sideways, whatever a contract you signed, you'll be fine. But in this case, real life situation.
Definitely, yeah. I think spending a lot of time in that village in the Amazon, I would be surprised if they learned far more than we ever learned as kids about surviving, JR. That makes a lot of sense that they learned a bit from Manuel about how to, eat wild animals and stuff. I have friends who have visited the Amazon and have family who are indigenous there. And the way that they hunt and eat is really amazing, that there are still people who truly live off of the land and live really sustainably as well. What's shocking to me about this story is how much resources went into finding these kids. And I think it's a good use of resources, and resources aren't scarce, but oftentimes our government acts like they are. And so to see this many military personnel, just thinking about the fuel, how much money was spent finding these kids, when so often there are people that we can see, that we know are suffering, that we know could use some resources and have their life saved. It's just, we treat missing persons a little bit differently than we treat people in the hospital who don't have insurance, who have to delay care or can't receive necessary life-saving care. There are so many scenarios where people are going hungry and losing their homes, and we don't put resources to that, but we put a lot of resources to missing persons. Of course we should, but it's an interesting decision.
I guess there's a lack of private companies that run these types of things that then pay politicians to eliminate all social services that could help people in situations and give it all to them.
There you go. Yeah. Just the Uber for missing persons hasn't popped up yet, I guess.
There's still, I guess we're still looking for the privatized fire departments as well, which hopefully in these folks' cases that you mentioned here may eliminate that socialist fire department 911 call that you can make, or those things as well. Maybe because it affects other houses. Maybe this whole community thing that we like to talk about that we have in this country, or the best country in the face of the earth. We've been down this road before. But it's good news for these children that survived. Again, the youngest was only 11 months old. That kid turned a year old while they were out in the wilderness. And then apparently that dog, the rescue dog that went out there and apparently got to them at some point, they speculated that maybe it also got attacked by some predator out there and didn't make it. They haven't caught up with that one yet. Imagine that type of scenario. Even this rescue dog didn't make it, but these 4 children did. It's a miracle, you guys.